Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm Mariah. Today's topic is Gini Laurie. This is a research video. In this video, I will talk about the life of Gini Laurie and what made her a disability advocate slash activist. All the information I'm presenting in this video is from two articles that I read. The first article is entitled Independent Living, the Role of Gini Laurie from the Post-Polio Health International website. It is written that there are two grandmothers of the independent living movement. One was Mary Weiser, the director of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation from the 1950s to the late 1970s. During her tenure, within a 15-year period, dollars for vocational rehabilitation increased 40-fold. The amendment in 1965 included tuition and attendant care for persons with severe disabilities. Mary Schweizer demonstrated to Congress the financial rewards for turning adults with disabilities into productive citizens and taxpayers. According to Gini Laurie, the other grandmother of the independent movement, Mary Schweizer's role was vital because vocational rehabilitation monies developed an educated leadership, which was essential for the independent living movement. Why is Gini Laurie considered one of the grandmothers of the independent living movement? Who was she and why did she get involved in disability? She revealed a very personal reason. October 1988, at the dedication of the new St. John's Rehabilitation Center in St. Louis. Gini Laurie was born Virginia Grace Wilson in St. Louis, Missouri on June 10, 1913, and that's from Wikipedia. The information below is from the Post-Polio Health International website. My father was a surgeon and on staff at the old Lucid, I'm sorry if it's wrong, Avenue St. John's Hospital. In 1912, the year before I was born, 4 siblings were struck with polio. A 12-year-old sister was mildly disabled, a 6-year-old brother was severely disabled, and 2 sisters, aged 3 and 9, died within days at St. John's. In their memory, my mother painted a mural on the ceiling of the St. John's Chapel depicting them as angels. 16 years later, I watched my severely disabled brother die of pneumonia and under ventilation at St. John's. His funeral mass was in the St. John's Chapel underneath the mural of my sisters. This information below is from Wikipedia. She was named for the 2 sisters who died in the polio epidemic, Virginia and Grace. She was, as she sometimes put it, a replacement child. Her connections to disabling diseases, and in particular polio, went deep. In 1934, she received a BA degree in Latin and Greek with Pi Beta Kappa honors from Rudolph Macon Women's College, now Rudolph College in Lynchburg, Virginia. She had gone to college with the intention of becoming a physician, but eventually abandoned that plan due to the obstacles women then faced in entering the profession. At the age of 25, in 1938, she married Joseph Scott Laurie III, and they resided in St. Louis. She took a secretarial course, worked as a decorator in the Warfield shop, and volunteered as a American Cross Gray Lady. Joe Laurie served in the Army, and the couple traveled frequently during the war years. In late 1940s, his job as a chemist and salesman for a brewing company took them to Cleveland, Ohio. The information below is from the Post-Polio Health International website. Because of her family experience, it was only natural that Gini Laurie became a Red Cross volunteer at one of the 15 polio respiratory centers operating in the late 1950s. The centers where individuals with severe polio in need of rocking beds and iron lungs were sent, provided superior medical and uh, psychological rehabilitation, but until 1953, most of the permanent respiratory users seemed doomed to remain in the hospital for the rest of their lives. In order to save money by avoiding lifelong hospitalization at the daily rate of $37, Rancho Los Amigos Respiratory Center for Poliomyelitis or polio in Downey, California, pioneered a system of health care that cost only $10 a day, and polio survivors were sent home with iron lungs and chest cuirasses. I'm sorry if it's wrong. Meanwhile, Gini Laurie volunteered at the Toomey Pavilion Respiratory Center in Cleveland, Ohio, and kept up with her old polio pals who had went home. Reflecting in her later years, Jenny commented that it was particularly the polio survivors, had two vital needs: people and information. They wanted to keep up with each other and wanted to share the information about their lives and equipment. Jenny and her husband Joe started to meet those needs by building a heated pool with a lift at their house, where they held annual reunions of the alumni of the Respiratory Center. In 1958, the same year, they started publishing Toomeyville Junior Gazette, featuring news on how polio survivors managed at home. By 1959, the vaccinations had stopped giving to the March of Dimes, and the March of Dimes stopped paying for the attendance and closed respiratory centers. The sudden loss of attendant payments caused panic. There was no Social Security disability, no Medicare, no Medicaid, no vocational rehabilitation for people with severe disabilities. There was only welfare or help from churches and families. Fortunately, polio survivors who had gone home from centers had worked with attendants for a few years and had worked out some systems of community support. However, they also needed the physiological support of other survivors. This is where the Toomeyville Junior Gazette, later to become the Rehabilitation Gazette, came in. Jenny led a letter writing campaign in 1959, alerting survivors in every state to write to their congressman urging national attendant care legislation. The national campaign was unsuccessful, but it called Washington's attention to the problems of people with severe disabilities. However, the California campaign was successful due to the efforts of the respiratory polio survivors, and the state's legislation established attendant care, in her own words, later cleared the path for the independent living movement. For attendant care is the linchpin of independence. In 1959, campaign for national attendant care demonstrated and solidified Ginny's belief in networking, the power of connecting people with people, and the power of information. Networking links people who share common needs or goals. Networking is a support system. It is a method of self-organizing. It is the structure of a social movement. Most of all, it is a method by which people get things done. The following excerpts from Jenny's archives demonstrate her persistence, her acceptance of people as they were, and her continuous connecting. Jenny featured Ed Roberts in the spring 1965 Toomeyville Junior Gazette after receiving a clipping from Parade magazine April 5th, 1964, with the article entitled "This Student Majors in Courage." The accompanied photo caption read, "Helped by brother Ron, polio victim Ed Roberts goes to classes." Later, Ginny received this postcard from Ed Roberts. "Editor, I'm sorry you didn't come to me to update the article. The article taken from the Parade magazine was not only inaccurate in many stances, but also poorly written. I am sorry to say that you have compounded these errors." Ginny responded August 3rd, 1965. "Dear Ed, me Koopa, me Maxa Koopa," and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, and explained why she had not consulted him. "I shall be most grateful if you tell the story of your teaching career, living at and attending university. It is vitally important not only to young would-be college students, but to the avocational rehab departments who will be financing their studies. Meanwhile, can you help with some information as to your present living arrangements at the Cowell Hospital? A young, bright, a very brilliant young Respo in Germany is fighting to find a university in the U.S. Which he can attend." Ginny sent Ed another note dated August 12th, 1965. Dear Ed, my friend, Adolf of Germany has sent the enclosed letter to me, forward to you. Do hope you have the magic button for him. I am so interested in helping him attain his pinnacles. Cheerio, Ginny. On September 9th, 1970, Ed Roberts, in a postcard, made the following announcement: "I have begun a consolation business for anyone needing help with problems of cripples. Thus far, I consulted with Health, Education, and Welfare in Washington, D.C. about programs for cripples in higher education. Helped secure a $80,000 grant for the University of California at Berkeley program run by cripples for the education of cripples. I brought John Hessler in as a director. He is doing a magnificent job. Would you like to hear more? I believe no other consolation firm is like this in the country." He shared his philosophy with her in a 1970s letter. "I'm tired of the well-meaning non-cripples with their stereotypes of what I can and can't do, directing my life and future. I want cripples to direct their own programs and be able to train other cripples to direct new programs. This is the start of something big. Cripple power." Another clipping from the archives dated January 31st, 1971, documents a shift in thinking. Judy Heumann grew up being called cripple, but today calls herself disabled and discriminated against. She feels that the word crippled suggests that a person is not physically whole. If malignancy means asking for something that is yours, then we're malignant. Sorry if that's wrong, said Judy, president of the group. "We're just tired of remaining silent just because we're scared of losing what little we have." In 1988, Gini Laurie, at the Center of Independent Living in Springfield, Illinois, not Missouri, reviewed the independent living movement. Independent living did not just happen. Two quads in Berkeley in the early 1970s did not wave their mouthsticks and say, "Let there be LI centers." The independent movement was not isolated. It was very much a part of its time and a reflection of its time. She further mentioned on she further mentioned some of the influences of its evolution. The movement was influenced by the importance of the individual, of the worldwide awakening to the rights of individuals and minorities. The independent living movement paralleled and was patterned after the black and women's movements. It was influenced by the fact that there were many more healthy and long-lived disabled and elderly because of medical advances such as penicillin. There were many more healthy and long-lived and severely disabled veterans who survived Korean and Vietnam Wars due to better evacuations and treatment learned during World War II. The movement was also influenced and preceded by other organizations, such as the Canadian Paraplegic Association, Paralyzed Veterans Association, the National Paralysis Foundation, and the American Coalition of Citizens with Disabilities, or ACCD. The ACCD was very important because of the first time people because for the first time people who were blind, deaf, and physically disabled worked together for their benefit. It brought together people with disabilities from East, West, Midwest, and South. I was a token non-disabled member of the coalition. Jenny continued to publish the Rehabilitation Gazette until her death in 1989. She added Polio Network News, now post-polio health, for polio survivors who were experiencing what has come to be known as the late effects of polio, and IVUN News, now ventilator assisted living for ventilation users. She spent 50 years of her life supplying people with disabilities with information and knowledge and connecting people with people. Jenny many times ended her presentation with caveats. I prefer to think of the movement as an interdependent living movement rather than an independent living movement. The phone calls usually start by asking for the name of the nursing home that will take people on ventilators. I react violently to this suggestion and remind them that they do not need nursing. They continue to live their lives as they choose. Beware of bringing the hospital home. Beware of making the cost of using a ventilator astronomical. Society will choose the more economical alternative, no ventilator. Beware of the EFIS complex, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong. People don't need buildings, they need improved systems. Beware of UBI, universal bureaucratic idiocy. Be careful you don't become what you were originally created to fight against. Reach out to the aging population. ILCs, or independent living centers, should practice what they preach. Hire people over 70 as peer counselors and put older people on their boards. Respect each other. The elderly may feel the same way about young lack of understanding that the disabled feel about non-disabled lack of understanding. We cannot let divisiveness happen. We must all work together. Visual impairments, hearing impairments, physically disabled, mentally retarded, mentally ill, and elderly. We're a power if we work, think, and play together, and only if we do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will post the articles that I use in the video description box along with a brief video description. I'm always open to any suggestions that you have for any future video topics. Please let me know what they are in the comment section below or on my Twitter page. And my Twitter handle is @BurleyMariah, and I can spell it for you, @BurleyMariah. The next topic is going to be on Autism Acceptance Month. I'm going to do a video series on this topic for the whole month of April. I hope everyone is staying safe, and I want you to know I'm praying for you, your families, and the world. I'll post my notes in the comment section for anyone who needs them. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to and found this video to be helpful. Feel free to share this video with anyone you think might need it. If you want to be notified for when I do any live streams or upload any new content, you're going to want to click the bell icon and select the all option under the bell icon. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. Bye.